Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today's lesson is on powers of 10 with decimals / exponents, and it's lessons 9 and 10. I know we have not done lessons 7 and 8, and I did that on purpose. We're going to do 7 and 8 after this lesson. So our goal is that we will multiply and divide decimals by powers of 10. Okay, so our first vocab word is, what is powers of 10? It's just pretty much that we're going to be multiplying. So 10 times 1 is 10. 10 times 10 is 100, and 10 times 100 is 1,000. And I could continue this pattern. If you notice something, here I had 1 0 and 1 0. Here I had 2 zeros, and my answer has 2 zeros. Here my factors had 3 zeros, and then my product had 3 zeros. That could help you understand the next part. Okay, so the next part is the actual exponents part. This is the part that I love. I love exponents. They're really fun to work with. They're easy. You've probably heard of them or maybe seen them and weren't really sure what to do with them. Well, in 5th grade, we mainly work with the exponent 10. For the next few lessons, this is all the base number 10. That's all we'll be working with for a while. So this large number, as I said, is called our base number. I'm going to use the symbol for number. So this is called our base number. I like to think of it as the big number. Okay, the big number's job is to tell us what number we're going to be multiplying with. So this one tells us what number are you multiplying? What number are you multiplying? That's what the base number tells us. So we're going to only be multiplying numbers of 10 right now. Okay, the exponent is always going to be this little number. It's always smaller, and it's always in the right-hand corner. So that one is actually called the exponent. Okay, the exponent has one job. It says, how many base numbers do you have? That's its job. How many base numbers do you have? Okay, so let's kind of see what this looks like. If right here, if I have a base number of 10 and an exponent of 1, what that means is I'm going to be multiplying the number 10, and because the exponent's 1, I only have 110, because it's how many base numbers do you have? I only have one of them. That's it. So I really can't do anything with that problem. The way that I would read this is I would say that is called 10 to the, and the 1 makes me say first power. That's how I would say that. So I could say 10 to the first power is equal to just 10. There's nothing I can do with that. Okay, the next one, my base number is still 10. So that means, what number are you multiplying? I'm going to be multiplying with the number 10. My exponent is, how many base numbers do you have? So because it's a 2, it means I have 2 base numbers. I have 2 tens. And I bet you could solve that. That's 100. Okay, so this is equal to 10 times 10, which is also equal to 100. Now, what do we say this? We don't just say this. This one's a little different. We say 10, and because the exponent is a 2, we say 10 squared. The 2 and the 3, those are the most commonly used exponents, and they have special names. So I always think it's called 10 squared because if you think of a square is a 2D shape. So I always think of the 2 and the 2. That helps me kind of remember them. Okay, the next one, again, the base number is, what number are you multiplying? I'm multiplying tens. The exponent is, how many base numbers do you have? Well, I have 3 base numbers, so I have 3 tens. So this one is 10 times 10 times 10. And 10 times 10 is 100. 100 times 10 is 1,000. Okay, and this one, it's that other special one. We say this one is 10, and maybe you can think ahead. What shape is 3D? Oh, I wonder if anyone thought a cube. So we say this one is 10 cubed. And I always remember that a cube is a 3D shape. It's a 3D square. Okay, so those two are the only ones with those special names. And if you think about it, we don't really have any one-dimensional shapes or 4 or 7-dimensional shapes. We have 2-dimensional and 3-dimensional. Okay, before I go on, see if you've caught on anything with this pattern with these zeros. Here we just had 10. Here our factors, remember the numbers I multiplied, had 2 zeros, and my product, the answer, had 2 zeros. Here, my factors had 3 zeros, and my product had 3 zeros. That kind of helps us if we remember this because some of the numbers will get really large. So the next one, again, my base number is a 10, so I'm multiplying with 10s, and my exponent's a 4, so I have 4 of them. So it's 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. Now, if I use this kind of trick, it makes it a little easier than multiplying them. I know my factors have 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros, so my product's going to have 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. Whoops, I forgot a comma there. So my product is 10,000. Now, because there's not a 4D shape, the way I would read this one is I would say 10 to the 4th power. And that's going to be the same for now on. For every number after 3, we're going to go back to that to the blank power. So if you look at this one, I bet you could think of how we're going to say it. We're going to say 10 to the 7th power. Well, again, my base number means I'm multiplying 10s, and the 7 means I'm going to have 7 of them. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, that's a big one to multiply out, but if I just use my trick, I can say there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 zeros in the factors. So my answer or my product's going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 zeros. All this zero work only works because we have a base 10 system. It's really cool. It makes math a lot easier. Okay, so something else that's going to help you is remembering the lesson that we just did. Before, we were just multiplying with kind of base 10, but without the exponents. If you remember this, it's going to make today really easy. So when I did these problems last night or a few nights ago, I looked here and made sure my number didn't need a decimal. Then I circled my operation and asked myself, if I multiply something by 100, is it going to get bigger or smaller? It's going to get bigger. It's going to get quite a bit bigger. So which way should my decimal move to get bigger? It should move to the right. Well, some people were moving it here, and other people felt like, wow, I don't have room, so they rewrote it. That works too. So I'm going to move it to the right 2 times. 1, 2, right there. And my next step was I'm going to add a 0 to my missing spots. So my answer is 160 decimal. That's an okay answer, but a better answer is if you realize I could take away the decimal and not change the value, because this is 160 wholes and this is still 160 wholes. So this is actually the better answer. Okay, here's another quick example. Remember, I already have a decimal, so I'm ready to go. I circle this and say, wow, if I divide by 1,000, it's going to get a lot smaller. So which direction does my decimal need to go to get smaller? It needs to go to the left. I could rewrite it again, or I could use it here. It's going to move 1, 2, 3 spots to the left. 1, 2, 3 spots to the left. and I need to fill in my empty spots with 0. So my answer is decimal 00014. Now for this one, this is the best answer, because if I drop this decimal, I'd completely change its value. Okay, so today's steps look almost identical to what you already have. The only difference is step 1. So step 1 today is our only new step. It says rewrite the equation without the exponent. That's really our only new step. The other steps are the same as in our last lesson. We're going to first circle the operation, and then ask myself, is my number going to decrease or increase? Which direction do I need to move my decimal to make this happen? And then draw an arrow on top of my sign. And then I'm going to move the decimal the correct direction, the correct number of spaces using loops. And then I'm going to fill in my empty loops with zeros. I can put a 0 or I could spell zeros. And then rewrite my answer. So those steps have not changed at all. Okay? Okay, it's only step 1 that's changed. So let's look at what does this actually look like. Okay, so here's my first problem. And I'm going to grab my red pen if you want to set down your pencil. I'm going to have my steps available to peek at if I need them. Step 1 is I'm going to rewrite the equation without the exponent. Okay, well, this doesn't have exponent, so I'm going to rewrite that. I need to get rid of this exponent. So I'm going to say, what does 10 to the 4th power really mean? Well, 10 to the 4th power means I have 10s and I have 4 of them. I have 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. But what it also means is I have 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. So I have 10,000. This is what the standard form of this is. So I could write this here on the side, but this is what I want to write here. So that's step 1. Once I've done step 1, it's just what we've been doing. So now I'm just going to go back to the steps that hopefully I kind of know in my head. This already has a decimal, so I'm going to circle this and say, if I multiply something by 10,000, it's going to get a lot bigger. So which direction should I move this to get bigger? To the right. And then I'm going to move it. Well, I don't have room here to move it, so I might rewrite it. Okay, I need to move it 1, 2, 3, 4 decimal spots to the right. So ready? 1, 2, 3, 4 to the right. And then I'm going to fill in those empty spots with zeros. So my answer is 31000 decimal, but a better answer is 31000 no decimal, because I don't need it at the end of a whole number, and a comma would make it even better. So really my only new step was changing this to this. Let's look at another one. Okay, so remember my only new step is step 1. So I need to rewrite the equation without the exponent. Well, what does 10 squared mean? It means I have 10s and I have 2 of them. So it means 10 times 10. So when I rewrite it, oops, sorry, that's a division sign, division. 10 squared means 10 times 10, which is 100. Or I could remember the 2 means there's going to be 2 zeros. Then I just solve like I have been. I circle my operation, and I ask myself, if I divide something by 100, is it going to get bigger or smaller? It's going to get smaller. So which direction should I move this to get smaller? I'm going to move it to the left. And again, I might rewrite it so I have some more room. So I'm going to move it to the left 1, 2 spaces. 1, 2 spaces. And then I'm going to fill in my empty spaces with zeros. And I have decimal 053. Now this time, if I change this and get rid of this, then it becomes a whole number. So I can't do that because then I'm changing the value. And I can't change the value. So So that is my answer. Okay, I'm putting down my red pen, grabbing my green pen, so grab your pencil and let's try 2 of these. Okay, my first one is 1 and 28 hundredths times 10 to the 4th power. So we're first going to get rid of this 10 to the 4th power. So 10 to the 4th power means 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. Okay? Or I can remember that it means there's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. And then it's just what we've been working on. So I'm going to circle my sign or my operation and say, wow, if I multiply something by 10,000, it's going to get a lot bigger. So which direction do I want to move that decimal to make it a lot bigger? I'm going to move it to the right. So I'm going to rewrite my number so I have some room. Okay, how many places am I going to move it to the right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going to go right there. We're going to fill in our empty space with zeros. So I have 1, 2, 8, 0, 0 decimal. That's an okay answer, but it's better if you realize you don't need a decimal at the end of a whole number. So I can get rid of it and put my comma. That is the best answer. Okay, let's try one more. Okay, so step 1 is I need to get rid of this. The way I pronounce that is 10 to the 5th power. So that means 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. I have 10s and I have 5 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or hopefully I know I'm going to say I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros, which means 100,000. Then I just circle my sign and ask myself, if I divide something by 100,000, it's going to get a lot smaller. So which direction do I want to move this? I want to move it to the left. And then I'm going to rewrite it again so I have some room. I'm going to move it to the left 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces. And I'm going to fill those in. So I have decimal 0, 0, 0, 6, 4, 5. Now I can't get rid of the decimal because if I get rid of it, now I have a whole number. So I need to actually leave that. Okay, I know that was one of our longer lessons, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're feeling confident. If not, we will be practicing this in our next class. Make sure you do the homework and then rate yourself. Have a nice night.